Hey folks, welcome back. A few people have contacted me and asked me, when are you going to finish the bar? Well, we were waiting for legs and the legs were finally done. They took, somewhere between 4 and 6 weeks. And these legs are heavy, so I drove to Connecticut and picked them up because I didn't want to take a chance. They're very hard to pack and ship in the best of circumstances. So I did the 2.5 hour drive each way, and we picked them up um, and got them home. And unfortunately, um, the story got a little sad for a moment, but this is one of the reasons. This is actually a good news story. Now, this is one of the legs that I picked up. The other ones over here, they look great. They're super. But there was a minor defect in the manufacturing, and the legs didn't quite sit square in the bar. Now, these things happen. Nobody's perfect. Here's the good news part of the story. I was heartbroken because of the time I spent getting them, the expense that goes into them. This bar, when it's done, is not going to be an inexpensive piece for the client. And I had to figure out what to do. So I immediately contacted Rite Leg, explained my dilemma in a voicemail because Shana happened to be at the office. True to form, 15, 20 minutes later, I get a phone call back from the boss. It was after 5 o'clock by that point, but the boss, his workday goes on until it's done. And he called me up and he apologized. He said, "Sorry, Tom, I know what happened, and it shouldn't have happened, and I feel really bad about it. Don't worry about a thing. We're going to make you new legs." Now, one of the things I should mention is these are custom legs. These are not their catalog item. It's a modified catalog item. By the way, Rite Leg has a very nice catalog. It's a large brochure, but gives you everything you need. It's got some nice pictures. It's very simple. And it shows the various shapes. They have table height, bench height, some really heavy duty stuff. It's all very well made. The legs that you're looking at here happen to be this leg right here. That's in the Alyssa, I'm sorry, the Danielle style. The Alyssa is here. I'm getting confused because I did a video last week putting these Alyssa legs on a bench. But now we're working with Danielle legs. This is what the client selected. And you see that's the basic shape. But what I did was I took their drawing and I modified it. And I added, you can see this line in red, I added that bar, which if we look at the actual leg, here's the bar we're talking about. I also asked them if they could shorten this up. The client would like to have, remember this is where the top of the bar is up here, the client would like to have a shelf underneath for glasses, napkins, and all the other little odds and ends you have on a bar. Depending on the party, maybe a shotgun or something, whatever. So I try to do what the client asked for. I asked them to add this, which is a pretty hefty 1/4-inch strap. You could park a truck on that, and shorten this dimension up in here to give a little more room. The shelf I have upstairs that you've seen pictures of here and there, that's going to go right in here and just set. The shelf will have a little groove in it that's going to catch on here, and that way it's removable for cleaning, and should work good. But there was a problem. So Rite Leg pulled out all the stops, immediately started making me a complete new set of legs. They didn't want to talk about fixes. They didn't want to talk about workarounds. They understood that I wanted the client to get a near perfect piece when it was done with I could have easily shimmed, one of the flanges to bring it up and make it square, but you just don't do that on a really high quality piece. So in just about 2 weeks time, they made them new from scratch, sent them out, had them powder coated, did a complete final inspection on them, and I got them in my hands late this morning. They shipped them yesterday. They were here in less than 24 hours. So we're getting ready to mount the legs up. So that's what this video is. Now, I did a leg mount video last week with those Alyssa legs, and so a lot of that stuff was covered. What I'm going to talk more about here is, let's get rid of this paperwork. You don't need that. By the way, if you're interested, first of all, these legs, they're not light. Oh gosh, can I guess the weight on this? I'm going to say they're about 30-something pounds. I know the box that came was marked over 70 pounds. So there you go. Matter of fact, let me put this one away, because these have to go back to Rite Leg. You can hear that. They got a nice ring to them, don't they? Don't do that again, Tom. So they'll stay there. So what I'm going to talk about is some of the differences. Now, this is a bigger piece, obviously. Let me back up. So here's the tricky part. You remember, and I know I have this covered up. This bar has a live edge for most of the front, and the other half is a little funky. The back has the shelf on it. This has a felon cut down here. That's one square edge to the top that I have. The other end is cut at a long angle. So I don't have places to square things up and measure off of to speak of. Appearance has a lot to do with it. So this is one of those things where you can see I got blue tape down here. That was just a ballpark measurement before I even got the legs. I put that down so I could start thinking through how I was going to set these, how far they needed to be in, things of that nature. And then I even modified that after I got the legs, and I rethought it. You need to spend a lot of time thinking about it, because it only takes a few minutes to do it. And once it's done, it's done. You can't back up and take the holes out and do it over. So you want to do it right the first time. Because I think slow, I take my time. So the legs came in today, I put these up, and I did a lot more measuring. You want to balance things out, make them as square as you can to the center axis of the table. And I squared off of here a little bit. I squared off of the back shot glass shelf a little bit, because that gave me an even thing. And then I double checked everything by measuring the distance from a given place on one leg to the same place on the next leg, and make sure they were parallel. So I'm marked out. I'm pretty happy with it. Nothing's moved. And I went through this process. If you want, you can go back and look at the video I did right about a week before this one is being shot. Look at the dates. Called installing right legs on a bench, and that goes through details of the process. These legs are the other legs had 6 holes, and they were just round holes. These legs, because they know they generally go on heavier pieces, they slot these so there is room for that wood movement. And there's 4 nice slots in each leg, so I can mark these with a little bit more confidence. I use a transfer punch. It's got a little sharp point in the middle. I pop my holes right smack in the middle of the slot. There's 1. I'm going to do all 4 this time. Going for the glory. 2. Got this light that I moved out of the way so the legs don't hit it. And this was tricky because it's right on the edge of where the bar shelf stops and the bar begins. And this one. That's it. 1 good shot in each. I take my drill, which is marked, and I just start each hole, because I have to be able to see my mark to know if I'm deep enough but not too deep. So find that point. And remember, this is going right through epoxy and everything. That's all I want. Just get that hole started. Go. The other one. And make sure that drill point is right in that center punch. And last one. You have to be very careful you don't move the legs while you're drilling the holes, that the drill doesn't walk it right off. My brush. Cleanliness matters here, because if I leave a chip laying on the surface and then I put the legs back on, they'll crush that chip into the finish. We don't want that. Now, these are, as I said, these are heavy, so you gotta be prepared to take the weight. Right back on the floor. Should have had a rag down here or something. This is stupid, I'm gonna make more dust anyway here. Alright, now I have to keep it straight, go to the right depth. It should be. Just gonna check again. Okay. Two more. Always afraid of popping through. Which is a little silly in the case of this bar, because the bar is 3 inches thick. I'm only drilling holes that are about an inch deep. So that is that. Save that for the next go around. How about if I try this from this side? You notice I keep everything on a moving blanket. Protect the top. Allen key, threaded inserts, and insert starts just like that. Whoops, crooked there, Tom. It's the first time I've ever used inserts on an epoxy table. Shouldn't make any difference. Just got to be extra careful, get it started straight, and stay straight. These are one shot. You put them in, and they are forevermore there. They don't come out. They're not supposed to, and they won't. Here we go. We are home, baby. That's number one. By the way, on the other video, I give a lot of detail about these inserts, why I use them, and the benefits of using them, which are many, and they're not small benefits either. Being able to take the legs off easily, put them back on easily, for moving or storage or whatever. Or let's say in 20 years, the legs are all banged up and you want to have them repainted, or you want to take the top off to do some refinishing or whatever. Take these screws in and out as much as you want. With wood screws, every time you run that screw in, that hole gets a little worse. You only get maybe 2 tries at it, and then you got a hole that's worn out, and then you got to put a bigger screw in, and you you might need a bigger hole for the leg. And so doing this with these inserts takes longer, but it's much nicer. Plus, these things allow you to keep those screws just tight enough to keep everything together, but allow for a little wood movement as the seasons come through your home. So a little extra expense for a lot of benefit. These particular inserts take a 1/4 screw, which seems to work best all around. Very common size. I don't pour more epoxy after I put these in. Getting the epoxy out of the hole would be tricky, and I don't want to find out how hard that is. And there really isn't any need to anyway. Remember, the legs are going to cover these holes up. Looks good. Everything looks great. And here we are. That's all it took. Just to show you how confident I am. And remove all this tape. That was only there as a eyeball liner upper anyway. Don't need that no more. Take that off. Unfortunately, this table's so heavy that once I get these on, I got a smudge there from the tape. I'll polish that out. Just again. Table's so heavy, especially with the legs on it, that I will not be able to flip this over. I need somebody, some poor unsuspecting soul, to wander into the shop, at which point I will say, hey, got a minute? Give me a hand. And we'll flip it over. Now, make sure that's clean, because anything that's on the flange is going to get pressed into the epoxy surface. And I don't like to slide it around. So we'll just stick it down there like that. Okay, again, mentioned this in the other video. I use a flat washer and a lock washer. The lock washer acts as a spring to keep things tight, but allow a little tiny bit of movement for seasonal changes in the wood. So there's one. You know what I didn't bring over? I didn't bring over a screwdriver. We don't need no stinking screwdriver. Yes, we do. So I'll have to leave the video for a little bit. And and go find the screwdriver. Whoops. Gotta put the lock washer on, Tom. But there we are. These are getting mounted up. And drop right in. Taking that extra time to carefully locate things, and then carefully start the drill, and then remove the legs to get your drill depths correct. And all those little steps that take a while. Lord knows how long this video will be, but and I won't put you through the agony of hang on, you're gonna get a screwdriver, don't go away. Just talk amongst yourselves. So let's go down. Now before I tighten these, they're just finger tight. You saw me do those with my fingers, so I make sure again, because there's float in this, I can slide it around. And I want to make sure that I'm parallel to that edge. A little out. Move this over a little bit. There we go. Try again. Okay, a little right on the money with 10 inches. And then from the back, 5.5 was what I wanted. That's what I got. So we're good on that score. Now I can tighten these up. And that's all I do. I don't go crazy. You could put hex head bolts in these inserts. Probably not a good idea. You break a bolt off in that hole. Beans. And but by the way, if you buy these legs, just to give you a ballpark idea, retail on these legs is about $306, I think, last time I checked. So yeah, they're expensive, but they sure look nice. And this is rock solid. Another benefit of this is Rite Leg puts in, I don't know if you can see it in the picture. No, you cannot. So let me point you uphill a little bit. I'll show you this. Rite Leg is considerate enough to put in 2 holes right here. Can you see that? One there, one there. There's a clearance hole in here for a screw. And then on this strut, because obviously you can't really stick a nut in between these 2 pieces, back here in the corner where that hole is. So they have a bigger clearance hole in the bottom piece to account so that you can put the nut right through down to here. The purpose of those 2 holes is so you can put it either a nice kicker on there or a strap that will stabilize this depending on what your table's like. So it just gives you more options. In our case, for a glass shelf, that would have been too close to the floor, so we're not using it for that. Put the glass shelf here. So when we come back, these legs will be on. I don't know which step I'm doing next, whether I'm going to flip it and finish the top, because the bottom is done. I'll put that other leg on in a couple minutes, and the bottom will officially be done. Then all I need to do is my final pour and polish on the top, and that part is done and ready to go. I'm still working on the shelf upstairs. That should be another couple days. I've changed, rotated through some projects, finished some up, and they're out the door or up on the shelf for storage. And I have other ones that I've added. So there's a constant mix of things going on. I'm behind at the sawmill already, and I need to get down there for a few days to catch them up, do some pine and also some hemlock. So we're busy, and work progresses, and I'll keep going on this and get it done in short order. And I don't know what else I can tell you, but there you go. Hope this one is not as long as the other ones. You all have a good day. You can find my other stuff, other information about the things I make and do at woodsmanforestproducts.com. See you in the next episode. Bye-bye.